that is new because many of the hadith are old. Many of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ are not meaning they're old, but old meaning that we've heard them before. It's not like these are new hadith or new ayat. We heard them before. So the question is, why don't we give importance to these hadith and to these ayat? So he says, showing the importance of adab and how important it is to have good character and good behavior is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he says, لَمَا سُئِلَ عَنْ أَكْثَرْ مَا يَدْخُلُ بِهِ النَّاسَ الْجَنَّةِ. He was asked, what is the thing that will help most people enter into the paradise? What is the thing that will help most people enter into the paradise? And then the Prophet ﷺ said, Taqwallah wa husn al-khuluq. That a person has the fear of Allah, and that they have good adab, they have good behavior, good character, good manners, or however you want to translate the word, right? That they have good character. They carry themselves in a certain way, and this will be the thing, as the Prophet ﷺ said, that most people enter paradise based on. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said in another hadith, إن من أحبكم إلي وأقربكم مني مجلسا يوم القيامة أحاسنكم أخلاقا. Like we said that the one that is most loved, that I love the most, the Prophet ﷺ said, this is page 275. He said, the one that I love the most from you all, and the one that will be closest to me on the day of judgment, the one who will be sitting the closest to me on the day of judgment, is the one who has the best character, the best behavior, the one who carries himself the best. And then the chapters want to deal with behavior. What type of behavior? For example, being truthful, being trustworthy, being generous, having courage, right? Being shy, being a good neighbor. All of these things are from the things that the Prophet ﷺ was talking about in these hadith. He said another hadith, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ صَالِحَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I've been sent, he said, I've been sent in order to perfect the good character. The good character. And this is the one that we say we love, right? The one that we say we follow the sunnah, right? But the sunnah is not restricted, that the sunnah carries, or is, as it says, vast. It's many different categories, as Islam covers everything. There's no stone left unturned, like they used to say. There's no section that we don't have any guidance in, right? We have guidance on how to believe. We've been taught how to believe in Allah, right? By the Prophet ﷺ. We've been taught how to pray, worship, and we've been taught how to behave also. So Islam is not restricted to what you believe only, and then everything else is just open season. You can do what you want to do, right? So because you believe correctly, and because your belief is not a belief of the Muqtada, of the innovators, because your belief is authentic and it follows the chain from back to the Sahaba, that doesn't mean that allows us to go and have bad behavior and bad character, that we can deal with people in any type of way. And Shaykh Salih al-Shaykh, he mentioned at the end of the explanation of Aqidah al-Wasitiyya, because at the end of Aqidah al-Wasitiyya, Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah rahimahullah, which is a book of Aqidah, at the end he talks about the description and the sifat and characteristics of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. At the end of Aqidah book, there's a section talking about the people of the Sunnah. What are they known for? Right? And he said they're known for having mercy with people and having good adab. The people of the Sunnah are known. That's from the signs of Ahl Sunnah, is that their behavior is a sign that they're on the correct path. The behavior is a sign that what they're bringing is the truth. We all know right now, it's people who look at Ahl Sunnah today and they say it's impossible that they're on the truth behaving like that. It's impossible that that's the truth you're coming with, the way y'all behave, right? And Shaykh Salih al-Shaykh, he said in that explanation, he said, if you find a person, right, who tries to separate akhlaq, adab, behavior from Islam, as if it's not as important as Aqidah and other things, understand, he said, understand that that person does not understand Aqidah. A person who thinks that adab, that's just something that's like, that ain't, as we say, but regular about nothing, it ain't like that. He says, this person doesn't really stand the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah. if people belittle as if the way we behave and conduct ourselves is not important Islamically, understand that that person doesn't understand some bigger issues in religion. That's how he explains it. Sorry, I was shaking through on. Look at it. He says after that, even Allah praised the Prophet ﷺ in the Quran. And he said he had the greatest form of character in Surah Al-Qalam, where Allah said, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. A famous verse that's on page in the 275 at the bottom. And you are on an exalted standard of character, right? You are on a high level of character. And this is the one that we say we love when we follow the Sunnah. Following the Sunnah is not only when it comes to where is Allah, right? And Tawheed, right? And the prohibitions on shirk, all of that. With that, how we pray. With that, how we behave. All of it is from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. For us to try to diminish and take away from the importance of adab means we have a flaw in a larger issue of understanding what is Islam in totality. If we think Islam is only the way a person believes and that's it, then we haven't understood the basics of Islam. And this is why he said, as Allah said, that the Prophet ﷺ has been made an example for us. As Allah said in Surah Al-Ahzab, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. Allah said that the Prophet ﷺ, the messenger, is a great example to follow for the person, a great example for who? Allah said, for the person who desires to meet Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah. If a person is looking forward to meeting Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah, then the best example they have is in the Prophet ﷺ. If a person has another goal, then that means they have another what? Huh? They have another person that's going to guide them to what they're trying to get to. But the person who's seeking to meet Allah and looking forward to the hereafter, then the best example is the example that we have in the Prophet ﷺ. Play it. Many of the Salaf, just to show the importance that they gave to adab and behavior. Many of the Salaf, like Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, he said about adab and behavior that we see, many of us see it ain't no big deal like that. It's not a big deal. The way you talk to people, behavior, the way you talk to people, the way you talk to firstly, the people closest to you, the way you deal with your family, the way you deal with your wife, and the way the wife deals with her husband. The way parents deal with their children, the way children deal with parents. The way we deal with, right, neighbors close to us and people that's not close to us. People at work, the way you deal with people is from adab, but that's not the only thing. But Abdullah Mubarak rahimahullah said, he said, I learned adab, manners, behavior, etiquette, however it's translated. He said, for how long? 30 years. 30 years studying what? What's adab? What does manners mean? Etiquette. The way what? The way you're supposed to act. The way you behave when you indoor and outdoor. Abdullah Mubarak rahimahullah. How many years? 30 years. He said, then after that, and I learned knowledge. And then I learned knowledge 20 years. We run around crazy. We say anything about anybody, but no, we talk to our wives like they people on the street, and the women talk to their husbands like they on the street. And then we say we love the Salaf and we love the Sunnah. The Sunnah is that you talk to people with respect. That's the Sunnah. The Sunnah is that you learn how to behave. That's the Sunnah. The Salaf, they gave importance to behavior. It wasn't an open season. You just do whatever you want because you hold a certain look. Everybody know you for praying in a certain place, so you got open reign to do whatever you want. He said, after that, he said, and the people used to learn adab, the people during this time, they used to learn adab before learning the other intricacies of knowledge. Before learning all the knowledge, y'all learn how to behave. Learn how to sit in front of the shaykh when you go to class. Learn how to ask a question in class. Learn what not to do in class. All of that kind of stuff. That's just in a class setting, let alone dealing with the people who have rights over us Islamically. And another narration that says it's reported that Abdullah ibn Wahab, rahimahullah, he said, we learned more from Malik. Who's Malik? Imam Malik, rahimahullah. Who's Imam Malik famous for? Muwatta. Like, what's up, Muwatta? What was the hadith that Imam Malik wrote with this? He wrote that. Like, what else was Imam Malik famous for? Salaf, yeah. One of the 40 imams of what?
School of thoughts.
What's the school of thought?
They will understand the jurisprudence.
Like, what else was he known for? He's a muhaddith, a scholar, and he's a scholar of fiqh. Something he was famous for.
He stayed in the city of Medina and he was left to the house.
He stayed in Medina. He never left Medina. The city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What else? He was starting his innovation play. What else?
A lot of things we can say.
You ain't said it yet. That's all I'm saying. All of that's great. Alhamdulillah. But listen, the more we know about the Salaf, the better. They give us encouragement to be better. We get far away from reading the biographies of the Prophet sallallahu and the Sahaba, and we start thinking that these are like mysterious people. But these are the men that Allah blessed because what did they do to get to that level? They put work in. Imam Malik was the one that they said when Imam Malik is there, right? Nobody asks questions when Imam Malik is there. He the only one should be answering questions. That you think. Nobody answer questions if Imam Malik is in the room. If Malik is there, rahimahullah, nobody say anything. That's the level you're on. That's not alone how many scholars in his biography by itself. But they said we learned more with all of that. With all of that. They said we learned more from Malik's adab than we learned from his knowledge. We learned more from his adab than we learned from his actual ilm. Right? Later. It's also reported some of the stuff you say to the kids, it is more love. I would love for it to their sons. It's more love to me that you learn one chapter of adab. One chapter of adab, one bab of adab, than if you were to learn 70 chapters from the different branches of knowledge. One chapter, adab. One chapter how to behave. We live in a country, y'all, we're a minority. What do most people judge Islam? See, what they say? Nobody's reading, no non-Muslims reading for the Hadith Surah Kitab Tawheed. They're not reading the Quran above that. They're not reading the Quran. I mentioned for that Kitab reading that because those books are famous to us. They're not reading that. More why? They're not even reading the Quran. All they know is what they see from us. That's all they know. And then they're going to make a distinction. Okay, you real, he ain't real, she's real, she not real. That's all they said. And that's why the Salaf, they knew that. Most of the people that took Shahada, the people that came to Islam, they went from countries. Right? When the Muslims were going to do tijara, they were going to do business in the different countries. They weren't going there to give talks and give lectures. They was going there to do business. They didn't get on the member. They went there to do business. They're trading, buying and selling with people. And the people said, "What? Why do y'all behave like y'all behave? We haven't seen anything like this. What is this that y'all doing? Why do y'all act like that? This is what our religion teaches us. Where do we go wrong? That we think, as long as I pray and I ain't gonna see I'm good, I can go outside, hit the street, do whatever I want to do. As long as I pray here and everybody know I pray here, I'm good. Then turn around and say, the da'wah, the salah, al-sunnah. Like, what about this part though? What about this part of the sunnah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Later. There's another narration by Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah, a famous one. Does anybody know how many students used to come to the class with Imam Ahmad? How many people used to go to the class? Huh? 1,000? 1,000 people? More than 1,000.
5,000.
Huh? 5,000 people at one class with Imam Ahmad. 5,000 people came to see Imam Ahmad teach. Right? Huh? Say it again.
Even when he was in prison.
When he was a lot, about like, I don't know,
They said it was victims,
the one time in prison.
when he went to prison, said he was outside, and we for him to speak.
So that's what that really invited this up. I didn't know it was in prison. Tell you, 5,000 people that came to benefit from this knowledge. Now, what was Imam Ahmed famous for? Yes,
I mean, one of the things,
One of
the trial,
the trial. What's the trial? What's the trial?
the trial of, scholars, who would say the Quran is great,
Like, what section of knowledge?
section of knowledge.
Huh? If somebody says the Quran is created, that has to do with what? Aqidah. He was famous for Aqidah. He was famous for his stance of holding down the belief of Ahl Sunnah, standing firm for the belief of Ahl Sunnah came to Aqidah. And he got books of Aqidah that he wrote. What else Imam Ahmed famous for? Later, JD, name of the Sunnah, later, specifically, what's he famous for? Huh? Hadith. He's a scholar of Hadith. He's a scholar of Aqidah. He's a scholar of Hadith. What else? Scholar of fiqh. As a method of Imam Ahmed, right? The scholar of fiqh.
Wasn't he the sheikh of Shafi'i?
MashaAllah. Likewise. Which is the benefit that even though he came after Imam Shafi'i, they will benefit from one another. We think we older than people, we can't benefit from people younger than us. We don't be in the books ourselves, right? We don't. We be talking, but we don't really be in the books right now. If we did, it's impossible that we read the stuff unless we read the stuff we not implementing. Or we don't think it's real. Possible. Maybe they think, or maybe we don't understand it, we don't think it's real, we don't understand it, we think these are like mystical people. Right? He's a scholar, Imam Ahmed, a scholar of Aqidah, scholar of Hadith. Well, the Muslim Imam Ahmed, they was given away at the university one time, right? So the word got out, they're giving out Imam Ahmed's Muslim for free. MashaAllah, that's what I said. I ran up there, right? Listen, I darted up there. They gave me 2 big Jones bags. I'm like, man, free. I get home, I got 20 volumes, 10 and 10. Right, I'm going home, take them out. 20 volumes and it's incomplete. I'm missing 20 volumes. I got 20 volumes and I'm missing 20 volumes. That's the book of Hadith that Imam Ahmed is Muslim. He's a scholar of Aqidah, a scholar of fiqh, a scholar of Hadith, right? He was tortured defending the belief of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. They said 5,000 people came to his class, right? 500 people are to level him writing stuff down. 500 people are the students of knowledge and writing stuff down. 4,500 people came just to benefit from what? His manners and his ethic. That's the stuff. How we come in this thing like you can just do anything and say anything, nobody can judge me? We don't find that in the Sunnah of the Prophet or in the Bible of the Salaf. Tayyib. Allah Musta'an. Tayyib, Shaykh al-Razak says that, which is on page 276, that khuluq, behavior, and as we know it, character is not restricted to dealing with people. It's not only about how we deal with people, but it's also how a person deals with the Creator, right? And how a person deals with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He's going to get into what that means. So we got 3 sections when it comes to character. That a person, of course, we know how we deal with each other, right? People, humans. Well, how's a person's relationship when it comes to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? And how's a person's relationship with Allah? All of that has to do with, it falls under the section of character. Right? It says, for this reason, فإن كل من يعبد غير الله خلقه من أفسد الأخلاق. He said, every person that worships other than Allah, this is a person of terrible character. They have terrible character, terrible ethic. Their ethic is terrible. Anybody who worships other than Allah has terrible behavior and terrible ethic. Their ethic is terrible. It's the evil. Why? Which means who, y'all? Huh? Number one, who, the people, anybody who worships other than Allah. They're not believers, like the disbelievers, like why is that? It's considered they have evil manners. Right. Like this is on page 276. He says, فَأَيْنَ الْخُلُقُ فِي رَجُلٍ خَلَقَهُ اللَّهُ فَمَدَّهُ بِالرِّزْقِ. Where's the edit of a person where Allah created him? Then Allah gave him food and money and stuff they needed to live. Right? He gave him all that. And he gave them all different type of blessings that we know. People are, as people say, when they get something, usually something good from the dunya, they say, what? I'm blessed. Right? Allah give them all of that. Right? Allah gives a person all of that. Gives them health. Give them good health. Right? It says, ثُمَّ يَلْجَأُوا إِلَى غَيْرِ اللَّهِ. And then they turn and they worship other than Allah. What type of adab is that? What type of respect is that for the creator of the heavens and earth? If somebody gave you, if a person walked up that you ain't know from a can of paint, right, and gave you $100, at the least you would say, what? Paint, dang, it's good looking. After not even believe you serious, listen. I seen a video earlier, there's a dude, I guess he's a random dude, he's standing at the counter, people walk up to pay for their stuff at Walmart, he pays for it. It was a Muslim lady, right? He doesn't know her from a can of paint. The Muslim sister don't know him from a can of paint. So she like, you serious? He's like, yeah, I know it's in the Ramadan, just, You know what she said? Thanks, that's at the least, right? For buying something from Walmart. That somebody give you help, Allah gives you help for years. All of the things that you love for years, right? Then you turn around and worship other than Allah. This is why he said that every person who commits shirk will juz'un min fasad al-akhlaq. Every person who worships other than Allah, this is a portion of having bad character, bad manners. This is bad manners that a person worships other than the Creator. This is a portion of it. Tayyib. He says that the beneficial behavior or the beneficial character, I don't know what's the best word to use. All of it is relevant. The beneficial character, وهو الذي يقوم به صاحبه يرجع عليه ما عند الله ليفوز يوم لقاء الله. The beneficial character is the one that a person hopes by behaving like this, their hope is what? That their reward will be with Allah, that they meet Allah. This is the beneficial character Yom Qiyamah. Because it's possible, y'all, that we do stuff nice for people for what? Huh? For what? For the dunya, because we looking to get something right now. We want something now, right? So let me be nice, man. Let me be nice so I can get what I'm trying to get. Then after that, it's a wrap.
I feel like they go like, cause sometimes we like you just said when it's nice. Sometimes we'll be like your mom might call you, and you'll be like, so in your head you're like, I don't feel like doing it. But then you think about it like, all right. You think about the hadith, about the, stuff like that. So that's the, it's definitely, but like when you say it like that, I feel like it go either way. Sometimes we let me be nice right now, and sometimes we let me be nice for the sake of the law, because I know I will.
That's a difference. If it comes to your mind, the hadith about being obedient to the parents when your mother called you, your father's called, that's a nip in itself. That you even recall that's a duty. My duty is to be good to my parents, right? Even though I'm tired, I'm beat, right? I know it's a duty, and I know being good to my parents, my reward is for Allah, right? That gotta be the need, that gotta be the intention, right? Especially when it comes to parents. But let's take it outside of parents and just general people, because we're gonna get to the fact that some people do things, right? And they're looking for a reward, they're looking for something now, something in return they're trying to get now. It ain't about the hereafter. And when they don't get that reward now, it's a problem. Right? Because they was only doing it to get something. So when the people you keep being nice to and you expect them to be nice back to you, when they're not nice back to you, now you're bitter. And he's going to get to that in the next section. He's going to get to that, inshallah. It says, so this is the beneficial type of edit. And he uses that eye on page top of 277. إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. Allah said, we feed you seeking Allah's countenance, seeking the face of Allah only. We only do our worship and we only help you and feed you, right? We don't need anything back from you. That's why I said we wish for no reward. Right? This is a praiseworthy effort. I'm feeding you, I don't know you, I'm feeding you, I don't need no reward. Right? And I don't need you to say thank you. Because my reward is with Allah. Right? And that's the sort of the insan, which is Surah 76, verse 9. That's at the top of 277. The top of 277. طيب. Then after that he says, وَأَمَّا مَنْ يَتَعَامَلْ مَعَ النَّاسِ بِأَخْلَاقِ الْحَسَنَةِ لِلْمَصَالِحِ الدُّنْيَوِيَّةِ فَلَنْ يَحْصِلَ مِنْ دُنْيَاهُ إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَهُ اللَّهُ لَهُ. Whoever deals with people nice, and they have good character and behavior with people nice, and they're doing it for a benefit from the dunya, right? It's only about the dunya. It's only about getting something in return down. Whoever does that, they're trying to get what? They're trying to get something, right? From this world. They're trying to get something worldly. Do people really do that?
Yeah.
Like, what's the example? I can't think of more examples.
Right, it's not worthy.
Yeah,
Want something just for a moment, get something worthy.
yeah.
You look at
Be nice to your boss at work and shade.
or if you want to look at it, yeah, I mean,
Be nice to your boss that works for what?
Raise.
They also raise.
Yeah.
anything. Because
Like, it could be anything, right? Now, but
I was gonna say, deeper, of course, this
say again.
they say they gonna do things and it wants a certain
Saying you're gonna do something, get close to people. And then what happens? What he's saying is the only benefit that you get with that niyyah, right, is something worldly that a person wants, but you're not going to get anything in this dunya except what Allah wrote for you to get. You're only going to get what is written for you to get. So you can do all that, be nice to the boss will turn around and say, no, they filled. And you mad at the boss, like, he call out everything. Right? If it's about dunya, it's going to stop where Allah decreed for it to stop for you. Right? And if you get it, that's it. There's no reward in it. If it was all about dunya, there's no reward in it past what you intended for. Right? If that was your whole intention to be nice just for that, right? Then that's all you get. You get that right there. But the character and the beneficial character is that a person doesn't know that they're rewarded for Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah when they be Allah. Which means the next part. And this is why it says that the person who deals with people, which is in the middle of page 277, the person who treats people kindly for compensation will be bitter. Right? He says the person, lil mu'awada or muqayyada, whoever you're nice to people, and you only being nice to them because you seeking something back, that person is going to end up bitter. He says, why? He says, لأن في ناس من لا يحسن رد الجميل. Because it's people who, it don't matter if you're nice to them, they're never going to be nice back to you. So you're going to be bitter. If you're going to keep being nice, you're going to expect people to be nice back, right? They ain't going to be nice back, you're going to be bitter. If you're nice, you know your rewards with Allah. If your behavior is you deal with people and you're just and you're not trying to overwhelm people, you know what I'm saying? You're not oppressing people, you're not trying to slick talk people, trying to get over them, get a couple hours out of them. If you're doing all that and you just doing it because you know that the Muslim not supposed to do that in the first place, then your rewards with Allah. And that's the whole point that the niyyah, the rewards with Allah. He says that some people, they do not return, as we say, return the favor. You can be as nice as you want to be. If you're only being like that because you want them to be back to you, you won't be disappointed. Because there's people who, as he says, they're naturally mean people. It's naturally mean, just disgruntled, angry, right? Or they might look angry, right? There's people that's just naturally like that. That's their demeanor. And you're looking for them to do something, and you're not doing it based on, this is just who I am. Am I my reward with Allah? If you do that, your reward with Allah, but if you do that, you're going to be disappointed because there's always going to be people who don't return the favor. There's always going to be people who do not return the favor. And that's why it says, الناصح لا ينتظر في تعامله مع الناس بأخلاق الحسنة شيء منهم. The person who is sincere, they do not deal with people waiting for the person to give them something back. You can't be expecting something back because people are human. He says the true advisor does not anticipate anything from the people because of his good interaction with them. He only desires a reward from Allah. Because we human, y'all, and humans always, we're not perfect. We always let people down. We human, that's the human element. None of us are perfect, so we always fall short. We fall short. It's part of being human. Nobody's perfect. And if you're banking on people doing something, you're doing it because what happens when they don't return the favor? Now you're mad at them. It's disappointment. You bitter towards them. Relationships end because of that. I always do such and such, and they don't return it back. But were you doing it for them to return it back? Or were you doing it because that's what you, as a Muslim, that's how you're supposed to carry yourself? It gotta be one of the two. But yeah. He says, and this is the first, and these are not limited to these characteristics. It's not limited to. At the top of 278, it says, thus, character holds a great position and lofty status in the religion. So the Sheikh intends to point out some good character traits every Muslim should adorn himself or herself with. Adorn, right? We already talked about that. To adorn yourself with something, beautify yourself with, to embellish yourself as a human being. Because a lot of times, like you said, it's not just what's apparent. Other character is not just what you can see on a person, right? If we do that, you be thinking that people look a certain way, you think they're the most pious people in the world, right? So we look at people, that's part of our problem. We've restricted everything to how we look. That's our problem, part of our problem. Everything is, as long as you look like you know what you're talking about, we assume you know what you're talking about. As long as you look the part, right? People get married off of what she looked like, but she'll marry him off of what he looks like, right? And then he'd be like a whole lion in the house. He's a tiger, they say, a tiger. All right? He's not the same guy. She's not the same girl once they are married, right? But it was based on what? He knew what to say to get married. He knew all the slogans to say at the time of the get married. She knew everything to respond with to all the questions, right? All the questions, she had the proper book response, right? They study for the test. Same questions come out, it's the same questions. And they get married off it, and in reality, the person ain't who you thought they were. Because we overemphasized the look. That look to us has become it. As long as they look like this, they must be on the correct path. Right? And that's the problem. And therefore, we have a lot of mistakes. So it's not restricted to the look. This whole section, as you will see, the first one is not restricted to what a person looks like. The first one is being truthful. How can you tell by looking at a person if they're truthful? You can't. It's not restricted to a look. They gotta be in a person. A person knows I'm not supposed to be lying. We Muslims don't lie. It's real simple. It ain't like a mathematic, scientific, high calculus equation, if that's even difficult, right? It's not like that. Muslims ain't supposed to lie. How do we know we're not supposed to lie? Because Allah told us in the Quran and Sunnah. It's simple. We're not supposed to be lying. Why we think it's okay to lie? Where that come from? What gives us the okay to go against the ayat and ahadith? So his point here is saying that he mentioned about 9 things in this section. 10 things that's mentioned here, but it doesn't stop there. There's books and books written on edit. But he said that it's not restricted to what's mentioned right here. The first one, Minha al-Sidqu. The first one, as he says, which is on page 278, truthfulness. To be truthful. It's not a trick question, yo. But what does it mean to be truthful? Huh? Tell the truth. Huh? Sometimes it's also the action you do. Truthful, but he said to tell the truth. What else? Huh?
Like, if we business deal or whatever, it's upon me to relate to efficiency, product,
Like, what's another word for that? Being upfront, honest,
Putting on the card.
being honest. Seriously, I'm serious. Where we from, right? There's the word where we from and where we come from. Is the word honest? Is that like a strong word? Is a person it like strikes for being honest?
No.
Yeah, I mean it's real. We real in here. Truthful.
People don't think much about that.
I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the Islamic answer. I'm talking about where we come from, the type of environments, and the type of way we was raised. Is honest. If a person is honest, is that something that people really look at like a good thing?
You get overlooked a lot. Overlooked.
Right? You
Overlooked.
say yes.
I said that's
How many of you say yes?
I think when you're a stand-up person, I think
Yeah.
so I think when you're a stand-up person, people know.
Like, let me rephrase the question because I agree with you. Stand up honest is. So if you're a stand-up dude, a stand-up person, everybody respects that. I'm being specific about this word, honest. What type of
Honest where we grew up from, get you killed.
I was gonna say honestly.
Yeah, you get raised.
I'm gonna say it can go either to being stand up or to being a right.
clear? My point is, when we have that type of thing between where we come from, it could go either way, right? It could go either way. We have to understand what Islam says. It's what Islam says is what takes the front seat. Everything else gets pushed to the side. That's the point. Honesty honesty is the best policy, right? But like he said, sometimes people are honest and people call them a snitch. Now what? Right? That's not nothing positive. That's not a positive character trait in where we come from. What does Islam direct us to do? What are we taught to do? If we speak the truth, even if it's against who? Even if you're wrong, you're supposed to say what's the truth, even if you're the one that's wrong. That has to take precedence over whatever block you're from, or whatever neighborhood you came up in, or whatever y'all hold, that has to come first. Everything else is secondhand. Clear? Because a lot of times we'll say, what you mean honest? Like, what's the meaning of honest? What you mean, like Islamically? Like, which other way do we live? Everything is Islamic. We're Muslims, everything is Islamic. And it's supposed to be. Not everybody. Well, that's the problem. Everything's supposed to be, everything in our school, through our lens, is supposed to be Islamic. What you mean, like Islam? Well, I mean, Islamically, you ain't supposed to do that, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, you know where we come from. We don't live on, see what I mean?
It's sad. It's true.
It's sad, it's true. We don't live on where we come from. We live by the Quran and Sunnah process. That's what we live by. Where we come from, we know, we understand, we know all of that already. That don't mean it's right. Huh? Yeah, Islam removes all of that. But we gotta be strong enough to put that to the side and put that in front. Because and you might lose a couple strikes with a couple people. Because you're not doing it the way they do it. You're not doing it the way we used to do it.
That comes with changing your circle.
That comes with changing your circle. You gotta be strong enough to change your circle.
Remove yourself from the situation. Why have to worry about it?
Remove yourself from situations. If you don't go there, you ain't have to worry about being around them there anyway. Why you keep going down there and they still into what they into? And now it forces you to either A, take a stand against them, or B, compromise what you know to be correct.
Because is it true, like, you don't believe yourself, you're still right to be quiet, like you accountable for being quiet about yourself?
No doubt. When you know something to be correct and you don't speak the truth in a situation where you have the ability to, then yeah, you fall with them people in that sin. That's why you gotta be strong enough to change the surroundings and stuff like that.
Just remove yourself.
Remove yourself is the
That way
easy.
you don't gotta say nothing.
No doubt. That's the easiest thing to say, just remove yourself. It's difficult to lead people, right? When all you know is these people. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people in the street, all you know is these people. You be closer to people on the street than your family members. It's difficult to leave that. It's difficult to be the other guy I'm done. Because initially you're gonna be by yourself. Because everybody that you with is still in the street. If it ain't two of y'all that leave together, you got some company, initially you're gonna be alone. So now you on your own, you just out there on the island. And so it's difficult. It takes some judge, some work. So a sin is the first one, being truthful. As Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, ittaqullaha wa kunu ma'as sadiqin. Allah says, so the Torah, ayah 119, that's on page 278. Oh, you who believe, fear Allah, meaning be obedient to Allah, stay away from haram, and carry out what Allah commands to carry out. Fear Allah and be with those who are truthful. Be with the people who are truthful. How you deem you're an upright person, right? You're a person of deen, as they call it. They say a rajul of deen. A person of deen, you're a person of religion. People look at you as a person of religion. And as we say, your companion, your Saajid, your right-hand man, or the sister you always with, got a terrible rep in the community. How you continue to hang out with a person like that? It's difficult to leave that off. You might say, well, I'm advising them. Oh, you do know, and not to say that you're not advising, but you do know that rubs off on your reputation. Right? Then we say, what? Well, Allah knows. No doubt Allah knows. You know that.
Maybe not only the relevant reputation, who you around affects who you are.
No doubt.
Just like I said about the companion that the one thing you sell for you or reflection,
Right.
affection.
Who you, it rubs off on your reputation. And who you around, the people you hang out with affect the way you behave. Either they're benefiting from you and what you're doing, or you're benefiting from how they behave, how they what they into. One or two ways. Somebody's benefiting from the other person. Either way. But yeah, the Prophet ﷺ said in another hadith, عليكم بالصدق فإن الصدق يهدي إلى البر وإن البر يهدي إلى الجنة ولا يزال الرجل يصدق ويتحرى الصدق حتى يكتب عند الله صديقا. This hadith is Sahih Bukhari. That he said it is. It says it is upon you to be truthful. Yes. The number it says here 6,094. 6,094. But that's inside the clock. What does this mean, y'all? It is upon you. It's a command. It's a command from the Prophet. It's an order. It's not an optional thing. We don't have the option to tell the truth or like, you know what I'm saying? The order from the Prophet is that we're supposed to be truthful people. We're commanded to be truthful people. Allah commanded us. He said that in the ayah, he says, وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. It's a command to be with people that are truthful. The origin of the command, Islamically, is what? It's obligatory. The asl wujub. The origin that if Allah commands to do something, or the Prophet commands to do something, originally that command means that it's obligatory that we have to do it. And if something is obligatory, what does that mean? If you don't do it, it's a sin and that's punishable. Allah can punish us for it. Right? Later, alaykum bis-sidq. It is upon you to be truthful. Oh, sometimes people be talking like this. After upon you is told. What does that mean? Like, upon you, who talks like that? Upon you is to feel love. Why we can't just talk regular so people understand what we're saying? So we can really get to it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the person delivering the message don't even know what it means, but it's written in the book, so I can say it like it's said in the book. Alaykum. It's upon you to be truthful. What does that mean? Like as a Muslim every day, what does that mean? It's a command to be truthful. It's not optional to be truthful as Muslim. We don't have the option. I can be a liar, but then I can straighten up every now and then, but I can still lie. Like it's a lie. No, the command is to be truthful. But he said, for indeed, truthfulness leads to piety. What does that mean? What does that mean? It sounds it's clear, right?
Very
Yeah. What does that mean? Truthfulness leads to piety.
Being an honest person leads to humility.
Being an honest person leads to having humility or being humble. Being honest, say it again. Being honest leads to a person having an overall good character. Being honest leads to a person getting closer to Allah. Gee, that makes more sense than leads to piety. Because people, I'm just sure, people don't know what piety means. And nobody walks around like pious. And even when we say, what does that mean? Well, we don't be asking each other questions. Like, we don't just say, what you mean by pious? We scared to say one of those stuff in.
You're
Pious. I like pious. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean,
You talk to the person, you ask them what piety means, and they don't.
they don't know.
Explain it with the same word.
Piety, like piety. Right? Come on. Why we just can't use Google and look it up real quick? Let me see what up. I don't know you looked at it going on. You said? Oh, all right. That makes more sense now.
Sometimes it's dangerous.
What?
Looking up translations for words and different
We ain't getting into that. We
I'm
just
just saying.
we looking up the English word. It's the English word. That's all we need. All we need for real. All we need is a synonym for piety. What's another word for piety? Because this is real. The people that I talk to, nobody talks like that. Besides people who read specific books, they take the language from the books and then they go outside and apply it. But outside, like in the real life, people don't really talk like that. It's only a certain group of people. So if you're talking to somebody who don't read these books, you gotta have another word to explain it to them so that they understand it. The deen is not only for us that's already in here. It's for people out there. How you talking to people with words nobody talks like that? Bigotry.
And you say, I can't talk to all like that.
A new shahada, exactly. A new shahada is like they come from whatever they come from. They used to hearing real words. You gotta be able to interchange and use words that people can understand and relate to. Later, indeed, truthfulness leads to piety, and piety leads to paradise. Later, being honest leads to getting closer to Allah. Let's just say getting closer. All that's included in piety. Getting closer to Allah lead a person to paradise. That's the path. The path to Jannah is being truthful. Then the Prophet said, the person who continues to speak the truth and is striving to tell the truth until he's recorded with Allah as being truthful. He's written down with Allah, Sadiqa. And that word in Arabic is on a scale that is, I want to say, not exaggerated, but emphasized. See about it. Not just a person that they're trying to tell the truth, that and they're conscious of not lying, and they continue like that, that Allah writes that person down as being very truthful. Not just truthful, this person is very truthful.
Something that somebody does like every day.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, it's the deal. See, benefit, ain't it? Likewise. That's why learning Arabic is a must, because when you see that word, you know. I ain't looking at you. I'm just saying. I'm not trying. When you see that word in Arabic, you know that it holds a higher level than just being truthful. No, what we say, he truthful. Like he real. No. If you talk to him or talk to her, no, she truthful. So you can't play with them like that. When you go to them, you gotta have all your ducks in order because they not, as we say, with the nonsense. Later, he said the greatest form of being truthful is that a person is truthful with Allah. The greatest form of being truthful and honest is that a person is truthful and honest with Allah when it comes to, as he says, the Tawheed of Allah, when it comes to the Shahada first. And he mentions the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, مَا مِنْ أَحَدٍ يَشْهَدُ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَأَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صِدْقًا مِنْ قَلْبِهِ إِلَّا حَرَّمَهُ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ النَّارِ. And this hadith is Sahih Bukhari and Anas radiallahu anhu. That's on page 279, the hadith at the top. There's no person that takes the Shahada. There's no person that takes the Shahada that none has a right to be worshipped except Allah, right? and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the messenger of Allah. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he said, sidqan. That when they say the shahada, the person that says the shahada truthfully from their heart. They're not forced to say it. They're not saying, I'm going to just say it real quick, because she ain't going to marry me if I ain't Muslim. Right? You don't force a brother to make it so you can marry him, sis. You got to say shahada, I ain't going to marry you. Well, I'll say shahada. Not that person. Right? The Prophet said, they say the shahada, sidqan and haqi, that they say it, they're truthfully from the heart. He said, this person, there's no person that does that except that. He said, except that Allah will prohibit the hellfire for that person. Based on what? Based on the saying of shahada? Based on the saying of shahada, they really was truthful when they said it. And it's a difference. It's a difference. Study it. He says, so the statement of shahada is the greatest sharp in Iman, the greatest branch of faith. وَلَا تَكُونُ مَقْبُولَةً إِلَّا بِالصِّدْقِ مَعَ اللَّهِ. The shahada is not accepted except that if a person says it truthfully. Allah knows. It's not for us to say, well, such and such, they be sure, so they took shahada, but they ain't really Muslim. How do you determine that? Because somebody did something that they're not really Muslim. How do you say the person's not really Muslim? Right? How do you get to say that a person is not really Muslim?
It's not for us to say that.
It ain't. You can't. We don't have anything except that a person comes and tells you, Allah protect us all, that they're not Muslim anymore. Right? Other than that, and he's going to get to it, which is coming. How do we determine that a person is not really Muslim? Ain't really Muslim like that. If they would have died, you pray janazah over them or not? The person died, either we pray janazah over them or we don't pray janazah over them. Because the Muslims are on different levels. Everybody's on a different level. Some people are demon. Right? Some people demon. Some people demon. And some people they only demon. Some people they really struggling. And some people shout out. And some people wait. They all, but that don't mean that they're not Muslim. The person that shout out don't mean they're not a Muslim.
All right, so because we're talking about an individual, and I get, it's not for us, not for us to say that a person is not Muslim. We had a hadith that talks about when the Prophet said that basically referring to the thing doesn't mean no damn good in Christian land and we can slave much Muslims. So we don't know what the law principles how the individual charged. But let's say the individual was to pass away, right? And it is openly. We know of the person indeed, to the people, we might have known him to be Rashid was born Muslim, his whole family Muslim, but we know the individual. We know the individual wasn't practicing. You know what I'm trying to say? We know that the individual wasn't practicing, wasn't praying X, Y, and Z, and Allah calls him that. Being as though that
You know he wasn't praying. Like, how you know he wasn't praying?
Let's say you deal with it. Like, let's say this one of your homies.
Like,
Let's say one of your homies, somebody
y'all live together?
could just be, possibly. I'm just
No,
saying.
no.
I'm saying. All right. You asking more detail. No,
I have to listen. It's takfir. If we don't have this takfir, that means we're not praying over them. That means people can't inherit from them. If we deem them not to be a Muslim, there's going to be a lot that's going to come after that.
a lot of things, right?
Yeah, so we can't be like, he shout out, he ain't. How do you know? We got to say this. I live with him.
Right.
He doesn't pray. I spoke to him about prayer.
Lord.
He said he didn't know. What did he say when he spoke to him about prayer? He told me he really trying to get on his prayer. He really wants to start trying to pray. But did he pray to that? I've never seen him pray to that. Because we didn't see him pray. Because what happens if you go to a court, like in a Muslim country, if it's authenticated that yeah, he's not praying, they're not just going to kill him and say he's a kafir, he died. It's not going to go like that. Don't tell him to make Torah. You have to make repentance. They're going to give him some time, a couple of days. You know what I'm saying? How do we get to it? Are we living with the person? Because that's what we say. They don't need to be praying on them. How do you know? How do you know they didn't get up in the middle, like this Fajr, wake up, I got to go to my deen. And pray Fajr that morning. How do we know in our situation that we're living in? Unless a person comes and tells you verbatim that they removed themselves, they no longer believe this, that, and the third, that's one thing. The type of people we dealing with, the people that, as we say, they go through stuff and they don't look how they used to look. They deem what they deem used to look like. And then they die in that state. Allah protect us. I mean, it's difficult to put the label that they're not even Muslim. Brother came to me, right? It's real life. We standing at the Juma I'm actually Muslim. It's like at the Juma. So he said, man, I'm trying to figure out how to pray with his brother, man. Like, why would you pray with him? It's not what you mean. You don't really like, how do you know if I mean, I don't know if you're still Muslim. So what you mean, Muslim? Well, so I'm asking, why would he be Muslim? You don't be coming around like that. He doesn't come around, so he don't come like what you mean. So I'm trying to figure out, what are you trying to say? Because you don't see him. You trying to figure out if he's even still Muslim, if you even want to pray over him, because you don't see him praying. That's how far it goes. Because you don't see him praying, he doesn't come to pray where you pray at, you doubt his whole Islam. Even if you seen him out in the street and he was out of pocket. People out of pocket still pray. I don't know if you know, but you know, a lot of people out in the street doing whatever they're doing, they got sexual marks. A lot of people in the corner, they got sexual marks in front of their head. Am I lying? Huh? Which means at the least what? At the least they praying. They praying. Normal people walking around where we're from, normally people don't just walk around rubbing stuff on their head. You know what I'm saying? So at the least he praying. For us to say that the person ain't even Muslim now, we're not praying to Naz, is dangerous. It's dangerous. Huh? Everybody sins different. I don't like that. It's like, that sounds like an internet slogan.
That's it. Oh, that's what I got.
Internet slogan. That's dangerous. Internet slogan is dangerous. It's almost like, that's like a joint where, listen, man, don't really advise me like that, because you got problems. We all got problems. Nobody's perfect. But being a Messiah, it don't matter what I'm doing. If I'm wrong, you're supposed to pull my coat and check me. And if you're wrong, I'm supposed to pull your coat and check them. You Muslim, like, we're not supposed to let each other just walk into a hole. How do you love for your brother what you love for yourself, and then somebody going down the wrong path and you don't say that? You just take the link and send it to somebody and say, oh, boy, shout out, look at it. Later, it says truthfulness is that the heart agrees with the tongue, which is on page 279. Whatever is on your tongue, the heart agrees with on the tongue. Later, it says such that the person says with his tongue that which is really in his heart. Later, he says, but. If what is apparent contradicts what is on the inside, then this is what? Huh? It's hypocrisy. He said, if what is apparent contradicts what's on the inside, what's in a person's heart, then that's hypocrisy. Are hypocrites Muslims? Is it possible for a hypocrite to be a Muslim?
Yes. Possible.
Yes. This is a yes or no question. Is it? No, I'm asking the detail. The question, listen, the question wasn't a detailed answer. The question is it possible for a hypocrite to be a Muslim?
You said hypocrite.
Shake.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No. I said no.
All right. You say no. You say yes.
No.
I ain't asking no detail. All I'm asking is a question. Is it possible for a hypocrite to be a Muslim? That says yes.
No.
Yeah.
I said no. I said why I said no?
Public, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I say no because, correct me if I'm wrong, Allah created three kinds of people. Believers, the Catholic, and the fanatics, three kinds of people. But it's not four, it's three.
Not yet.
But you could be a hypocrite in action.
Like, hypocrisy needs detail. I just asked it like that, but hypocrisy, the issue of being a hypocrite needs detail. You can't leave it blank like that. That was just you can't leave it blank like that. The Prophet gave us an example. And that's why he says, it may sometimes be major hypocrisy, and it might be minor hypocrisy. It's possible that the hypocrite, right, Like, I'm saying it like this. I'm only saying it like this because that's how we use the word. We read the hadith that's coming right here on page 279. The signs of the hypocrite are three, right? Whenever he speaks, he tells a lie. Whenever he promises, he breaks his promise. And whenever he is entrusted, he betrays. That's how the hadith, that's what we read. So what happens when a brother doesn't uphold his end of the bargain? We apply the hadith to him. Man, see, he ain't Muslim, man. He a hypocrite. Right? So what you mean? Man, he's a hypocrite. How? The Prophet said, whenever he's entrusted, he betrays. He broke his promise. Then we say, well, he's not even Muslim. And that's why I left the hypocrite like that. But that's not how the scholars of Islam have explained hypocrisy. That you got two different types of hypocrisy. Right? You got the major type of hypocrisy, which is that a person, they make apparent that they're Muslim, but they don't really believe in their heart. They don't believe in the message of Islam in their heart. Right? And there were people like that during the time of the Prophet, right? Major hypocrisy. Those people are not Muslims. That what? If you see them, if you see the brother or the sister dressed, right, you would assume that they were Muslim. What if in their heart they don't really believe? Whose problem is that? That's their problem. How will we know? How will we know? Because when the time of the Prophet said something, it was hypocrites that went to jihad with. They fought in wars next to them. They fought against, they fight with war, put their life on the line, and didn't really believe. How will we know if a brother or sister walking down the street is a hypocrite or not? They mean they don't believe. We don't know. We don't even have the authority to even, you see what I'm saying, where it goes, right? So then you have, that's the major hypocrisy. The minor form of hypocrisy is a form of hypocrisy. To the person you call a hypocrite, maybe linguistically, maybe yeah, like language-wise, that is a hypocrite. If that means a hypocrite is not a Muslim, it doesn't mean that. We gotta be careful, right? That they call nifaq amali. It's hypocrisy in a person's actions, right? Like this hadith. There's hypocrisy in a person's actions. That's 279. The signs of the hypocrite. These are actions that a person does, and it's a sign of hypocrisy. That when they talk, they lie. They speak, they lie. And this is not just for brothers, sisters. This is not just for men, sisters. A sign of a hypocrite is that when a sister speaks, she lies. That's a sign of a hypocrisy. That's a sign that a person has a sign of a hypocrite. It doesn't mean that the sister's not Muslim anymore because she lied. Right? Is lying a sin? Lying is a sin. And if it's a sin, that means what? It's punishable. Allah will punish us for lying. It's a punishable deed. Some deeds we're going to be rewarded for, and some deeds we're going to be punished for. Allah forgive us. So he says, if it is the fact that a person, a person, they look like Muslims, but they do some things that the Prophet ﷺ said are hypocrisy, and this falls into the nifaq al-asghar, the minor type of hypocrisy, which doesn't mean that the person is not a Muslim anymore, but it means they have a sign of hypocrisy. The three signs of the hypocrite, that one, when they speak, they lie. Two, when they promise, they do something, they break the promise. Right? And the third one, when you trust them with something, they betray the trust. You trust them to do something, they betray the trust. These are the signs of the hypocrite. A lot of times, people be so hurt by being betrayed, they go overboard. I don't know. Muslim, I can't even say if they're Muslim. I can't say Muslim. Why? They lied to you, like you're the person, because they lied to you, that Islam is finished. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Later, we'll stop there, inshallah. Maybe we'll finish next week. Unless there's any questions. If there's no questions from the sisters, we're still in the course. The court is on the way, though. The court is on the way. legs left. Sean's on the legs. If there's no questions, we'll stop there. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
Do I even gotta turn this off? Do this go off first?
It works.
Does it say standby already?